Okay. Hey guys, it's Tori, the founder of the Mighty Dames, and I am back with another roll call interview. This time we have a special guest, a good friend of mine, Miss Shama Ko. Hey Shama.
Hey, Tori. Thanks for
Oh,
having me.
yo, thanks for like agreeing to this. I don't know if you know about this, but I tell other people about this all the time, why I love you so much. It was a few years ago when we were like first starting out the Mighty Dames. I think I met you maybe once or twice, but just in passing. And you sent me a message and it was like, "Hey, I didn't know what you were trying to do with the Dames yet, but I at the time, but I know now and I think it's awesome. Keep it up. I love what you're doing." And as like a new blue belt, getting like the head of Girls and Geese telling me that like my women's organization, like oh my, giving me like a thumbs up. I was like smiling and on cloud nine for like a week after that. So
Aw.
yeah, yeah, I'm always on Team Shama.
Aw. No, like when I first started out, there weren't that many women, maybe like I would say under five that really were taking an initiative to kind of bring representation to
Mhm.
women. And when I saw Mighty Dames pop up, I was like, yes, that
Yeah.
is perfect. That is awesome. That is definitely an underrepresented demographic in the jujitsu world. So
Yeah.
I thought it was really awesome that you were bringing that representation and that support for women in the heavyweight divisions.
Well, that's good too because like I think too often whenever, women's groups come up or, you know, different organizations pop up, I don't want to say it's a woman thing, but we do kind of do the competition game sometimes and we forget to like, by uplifting another organization, we're all kind of uplifting everyone. So like that's why I was so thankful. Not that I had a lot of roadblocks, but I definitely got a couple of like sideways look and to have like an organization as big as Girls and Geese and you who you didn't have to say anything about that. And just for you to say that, it was one of those things like, okay, maybe what I am doing does have a purpose if someone else who's building a program can kind of see it as well. So like that's my little moment why I love Shama. But I think I met you the first time we did a Girls and Geese in Florida down in Miami. I think
I
that's
think
it.
I think it was Jacksonville. That was
Was
one of our
it
first.
Jackson?
Miami's when you came and you were already training to be an ambassador.
No. We've been to Miami. When we went to, was it Melissa? Oh my gosh, I remember. I am not. I'm gonna like insert somewhere a picture of me at the very first Girls and Geese because I was still a white belt when I went to my first one.
We did the
So
very. I think we did the very first one in Jacksonville. We've done two in Jacksonville. We've only done one in Miami. We did one in Orlando, one or two in Orlando.
was it like Coral Springs
Yeah, we did Coral Springs. Yeah, it was like on the way to Miami,
maybe?
so
Okay,
almost.
okay. I'm
That
in
was the
Central.
first one.
Okay, yeah, okay. Look, I'm in Central Florida. Once you get past like Kissimmee, it's all Miami to me. So like Coral Springs, Miami, I don't
It's the
know the
same.
difference. Okay, but that's the first one. Well, we kind of jumped a little far ahead, but like let's give everyone your stats because we don't get a lot about Shama besides Shama the Girls and Geese. What's your official title?
Program director.
All
So I
right, so
oversee all of the Girls and Geese programs.
okay, so give us your stats, like your belt, how long you've been training. I know you're kind of like a nomad, but like where did you like get your primarily like the large majority of your training from? Give us your little intro.
So I started actually. I've been around jujitsu since about 1996,
Oh
and
wow.
I I was in high school and I had some guys who were older who discovered jujitsu and they used to train at House and Gracie in Hawaii.
Mhm.
And I remember hanging out with my girlfriends and we drop them off at jujitsu and be like, bye guys, see you later. That's your thing. Not interested. But I was always kind of a tomboy
Mhm.
and I would like to play fight with my friends, especially the guys. And so they'd come back from jujitsu class and be like, "Oh, you got to try this. You got to try that. You should come. You should come." And I was like,
Mhm.
nah, you
Yeah.
know. So it wasn't until actually 2003 that one of the guys convinced his girlfriend to try jujitsu. She got all into it and started a women's class. And her and I became really good friends. And she told me, "Hey Shama, I'm starting this women's class. I really need some support. I need some bodies. Come try it out. Just be there. You like it, you like it. You don't, you don't."
Mhm.
And so that was my introduction to official introduction to actually being on the mats and participating in jiu-jitsu. So I stayed with the Hilson Gracie team for about 8 years or so,
Okay.
and then everything kind of changed, and so then I transitioned to Gracie Omaita team.
Mhm.
So I've been training in total 17 years
Woo.
now, and I'm still a brown belt. Which, hey, that's how it goes sometimes. That's where
Hey,
your journey goes.
there you go.
Um, but there was a time where I was really into competition.
Mhm.
Right after I got my purple belt in 2007, that was when I really started focusing on what I wanted to do in jujitsu. I'd been competing since a blue belt.
Mhm.
Going into jujitsu competition was not even on my radar. It was something that I had no interest in. I was there to get in shape and learn how to
Mhm.
protect myself, and that was it. So by blue belt came around, I was like, well, all right, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. See
And
that
then
blue
I was
belt gets you.
hooked because I have a competitive streak
Mhm.
naturally within, which motivates me.
Mhm.
And so it was a great outlet for me to be able to push myself, build that discipline. And mind you, I lost a lot. Like, and
But you still
uh,
love to compete.
I still loved it because I was
Okay.
horrible at it, and someday I was going to be good at it. Someday I
Yeah,
was going to win.
that's a good mentality to have.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in if you don't fail and fall, then that doesn't keep me going.
Mhm.
Like I need to fail in order to have something to overcome and keep
Mhm.
moving forward. Because if it's too easy, I'm like, all
Lose
right,
interest.
I'm
Yeah.
over it. I like
Yeah.
a good challenge. So I think if I had continued to win and win and win, maybe I would have gotten bored with it
Mhm.
sooner. But I definitely learned a lot by my losses. I actually had a nemesis. So back in those days,
You gotta. Wait. You just like I had a nemesis back in the day. Like
no,
okay,
it
sure.
was a friendly
Yeah. Yeah.
nemesis.
Yeah.
But back in the day, there weren't a lot of women competing. So, especially once you got your purple belt in Texas, it was like a death wish,
Mhm.
like there were no other competitions. There was only one other woman that competed, Sue Osmond. She was 10 years older than me,
Mhm.
and she wiped the floor with me. Like she destroyed me. She was solid muscle. She still is to this day, you know and so she was my nemesis, not
Mhm.
really, but she intimidated me. She scared me, and she was the only woman in Texas that was a purple belt that was
Mhm.
competing. So every tournament, I always faced her if I went and competed. And I remember it's probably like my 20th loss against her or something. And I just lost it. I started crying after. I was just like, oh my
Mm.
God, I'm never going to get better. I'm horrible. Just throwing yourself a pity party,
Yeah.
right? And she saw it and she came over to me and she's like, Shama, you know what? Every time I see your name on the registration, I get scared. I get worried. And she's like, you intimidate me. And I'm like, I intimidate
Like tears
you.
coming
You intimidate me. And it was such a beautiful moment because after that we became friends, and it
out.
was like, hey Sue, are you doing this tournament? Okay, cool, I'll sign up.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a turning point for me, that I was taught that competition was this really scary thing,
Mhm.
and like it was us against them.
Mhm.
And so it gave me a whole new perspective, as like, oh, we can be friends and we can have fun
Yeah.
with this. and,
You know,
and so,
yeah, I'm kind of glad you said that, like how you were intimidated by her and she was intimidated by you. I get that sometimes too, where like, like after the competition's over and like say you medaled or whatever, and you're kind of, even if you don't medal, people kind of always kind of float with their group to the bullpen or to the podium area just to kind of chit chat. And I would talk to girls who are like, yeah, we saw you were kind of nervous and worried. Like, yeah, I saw your match before and I was worried too. So it's like, you never know like what energy you're putting off or what other people are looking at when they see you. Like I get like really intimidated by like the middleweights because like they're athletic, but they're flexible and they're
Yep.
fast. So there's like
They're
that middle
fast.
ground of like, ah, crap, here we go again with these strong bendy girl. Let's all right, open weight, let's see it. But yeah, it's weird how you just never know how people are going to perceive you.
Oh yeah. And it was like I said, it wasn't until maybe about 6 months into my purple belt that I went and I really started taking the competition seriously. Before I was taking it seriously, but um this is when I was training 3 times 3 times a day, lifting weights,
Oh
cycling.
wow.
I didn't have a car at the time, so I rode my bike everywhere,
Oh.
and I went out and I won the pans, and that was like my second IBJJF tournament. Um, and then later that year, I went on to play second in the world, and that was a big turning point for me because it was like,
Mhm.
oh, I am athletic. Oh,
Mhm.
I can win. Oh,
Mhm.
okay, you know. And so then I made it my life for a long time, and that was always my focus.
Mhm.
And then I had an injury. I tore my meniscus and separated my ACL, and I didn't have
Ooh.
insurance. So it took me out for I kept training and training like an idiot,
Oh.
making it worse, making it worse, making it worse. But I didn't have insurance. So I couldn't go
Yeah.
get an MRI. I couldn't
Yeah.
get, this was before Obamacare,
Mhm.
got rid of the pre existing condition stuff. Um,
Okay.
and so when I had my knee injury, it was really hard because it was like competing was and being an athlete was my life,
So
and then
how did you make that transition from like Shama the athlete? What followed Shama the athlete that you stayed
Shama
in
girls
jujitsu?
and geese.
It was that right around the same time that you shifted into girls and geese,
It was slow.
or
Like
a
there
little
was a
bit
little
later?
bit of an overlap.
Mhm.
Looking back, had I continued to focus on myself as Shama the competitor, there's no way I could have done what I've done with girls and
Mhm.
geese. I shifted all the energy that I was putting into myself as a competitor and
Mhm.
shifted it into the potential of what the organization could do. When I came in,
Yeah.
it was still a very informal, just group of us ladies coming together. We'd pile in a car, drive off to a girls and geese, train for a couple hours, have lunch, and then drive back. And we just caravan all over Texas trying
So
to
it did
get out.
start in Texas. That's what I was gonna ask a little bit
Started in
about. Yeah,
Houston,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
It started in Houston. Ashley Freeman knew when she started it. Um, and so yeah. And once I saw what, again, I came from a team where there wasn't any other jujitsu when I started. There was
Mhm.
like, I think there was 2 academies in Austin, which now there's like hundreds,
Yeah.
But back then it was that old school mentality of we are the best. We are, it's just
Gotcha.
us and it's us against the rest of the world kind of old school attitude. So I didn't understand how we could be friends across academies. I didn't
Mhm.
understand the importance of it or see any kind of reason that I should go outside of my academy
Mhm.
because we were the best.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But so when I got involved in Girls and Geese, it was like, oh, okay, this is something that I didn't have that I was missing. And it opened up my eyes to the potential of what
Mhm.
jujitsu could be and what I wanted to make my journey about. And I wanted to make my journey about coming together, uplifting each other, building that solidarity, having that support from other women,
Mhm.
and overcoming the barriers that divided us. Because
Yeah.
I understood how those barriers divided us because I was stuck within one.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay, so you think that not saying that a knee injury is a blessing in disguise because knee injuries are trash, but it was kind of it happened at the right time so you could focus your energy over to girls and geese.
Absolutely. It was the best thing. It was one of the best things that ever happened to me because I'm not going to be a Bia Mosquita. I'm not going to be a Leticia Rivero. I would have died trying to be, but you know, this was my calling. This was
Hmm.
my purpose. This I think of every crappy job that I've had throughout my years of
Hmm.
being employed since I was like 14 years old,
Hmm.
and it made sense. All of
Gotcha.
those skills that I learned from all of those different jobs, all of my experiences, all of the things that I was taught as a kid, it all fit into place within what I built with Girls and Geese.
That's awesome. When like it comes
Yeah,
to like a culmination of everything you've done, it's like, oh, it was for this. Gotcha.
exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay, so you got involved in Girls and Geese, and eventually, like, it's spread throughout this country. So, like, what was that like when you had that moment? It's like, I think it could be more than Texas.
So Seth Daniels, I used to compete at Fight to Win back when Fight to Win had like plastic medals and like
It's got a little fancier now. I'm
it's
not
got
sure
a
if
little
you noticed.
fancier.
There might
Yeah.
be lights and smoke and stuff. I don't know.
No, but you know, we all start somewhere,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and Seth had a big dream and I'm super proud of what they've built, you
Oh,
know.
yeah.
I think and what they did in Miami you know, recently with the women's tournament,
Yeah. Good turn.
showcasing
Like,
all the talent
yeah.
was amazing. But, you know, so I used to compete in his tournaments and I don't remember this, but I was a pain in the ass and would complain about things to him. Not how I remember things, but okay. I don't think that was me, but anyways, so we kind of built up a friendship and I started doing I'm a photographer also, so I was
Mhm.
doing photography and he was super cool and just letting me like, you know, photograph his tournaments and build up my clientele.
Mhm.
And so anyways, so when I started doing Girls and Geese, he would again give me crap and say, Shama, like, you need to bring Girls and Geese to Colorado. And I'm like, Colorado? There's no jujitsu in
Yeah,
Colorado.
like,
Like, you know,
where
and this is
is Colorado? Yeah.
um, and so I had no idea. And this was back, I think this was back in 2011 or 12, somewhere in there. And he's like, no, you need to bring Girls and Geese to Colorado. And I was like, I don't have any money to do that. Like, I'm barely making ends meet running my photography business.
Hmm.
And he's like, come up, stay with me. I'll pay you to take photos at the tournament the day before, you know, and we can do the Girls and Geese the next day.
Hmm.
And I was like, all right, sold. You know, I'm
Done.
not
Like,
losing anything here.
yeah, yeah.
So, all right.
And you get to find out where Colorado is. So it's perfect.
Yeah, coming from Hawaii, not so good at geography. No.
Listen, coming from Florida, not that good at geography. You're fine. Thanks,
But
U.S. education system.
yeah, thank you, public schools. No, but so anyway, so we get up there and it was a beautiful day, the day of his tournament, sunny, like cool, crisp. And then come the next day, it's a blizzard. And I'm like, I come from Hawaii. We don't have snow. Is this bad? Is this a lot of snow? Like, are people going to still show up? And he's like, yeah, it's fine. Don't worry, you know. And so we had 100 people registered for this event
Oh, for the first one out of
for the
Texas?
very first Colorado event.
Wow.
And so I'm like, well, I can't really afford to come back. I just got to do it. I'm here. And he's telling me, nah, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You know? And so we get there and the 30 women and girls show up. And so I was like,
Awesome.
all right, let's do this, you know? And it's funny though, later on, he's like, he said he was white knuckling it there driving. He's like, oh my God, we're going to die.
But he can't like show that
I
to
can't show
you.
no.
Because like if he's showing it, like you'd be freaking out. Like, because you know,
Exactly.
I've never seen snow before. So like if I was driving and like there's a thinnest layer, I was like, oh, so we're staying inside today? Today is over. We're shut down. Because like clearly we cannot drive in this. But some
Oh, Yeah, I was like a little kid. After the event, I came back and I was doing snow angels in the front lawn of his house. I got so into it that I like gave myself altitude sickness, which I didn't know
Oh
what that
no.
was.
That is high up.
It's very high up, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of what the first time we came back and we did a makeup event, and then we got like 100 women to come out for
Hmm.
that one. But that was like the awakening of, you know what? It's possible.
Yeah.
This can go anywhere. And so slowly but surely, we started popping up new events. And I'm very methodical. I like to put a lot of energy into what I do and to do it right.
Hmm.
So it took us some time to get things going because we worked to kind of hand pick teams and
Hmm.
develop relationships with the academies and the
Hmm.
upper belt women. And so now we have 16 chapters throughout the US. So,
Hey.
yeah.
And if you guys don't know, this girl here, Girls and Geese Ambassador, also in Florida. So you'll
Yeah.
see this face if you when we have another one over here. So okay, so you're trucking along, you're adding places, boom, 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 you know, everything's growing, growing, growing. COVID hits, everything shut down. After everything shut down, because if people follow the page, they see you've actually been very more active than ever on social media. So what was the goal? Like, COVID shut down, you couldn't do any more classes. What were you thinking?
It was hard. It was like a part of me got ripped out, because this Girls and Gays I see as like an extension of myself. Somebody told me recently, it's like you took your DNA and injected it into this,
Mm-hmm.
and it's true. Girls and Gays, I don't have any kids. Girls and Gays is my baby.
Mm-hmm.
And so when COVID hit, it went from, yeah, things are going, everything's going great, to crickets, you
Yeah.
know? And so that was really, really rough for a long time. But immediately it was, we have to maintain some kind of presence.
Mm-hmm.
We have to keep going. This is an opportunity for us to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
So I started brainstorming. Okay, what are some things that we can do? So we've launched different panel discussions
Mm-hmm.
talking about anything related to women in jujitsu, social issues, and how it relates to jujitsu.
Jiu-jitsu. There's multiple anyway. So nah.
um, and just kind of really trying to push the envelope a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
talking about things that maybe we don't talk about, giving
I
advice.
I was actually gonna ask you about that too, because there's definitely been, again, if people know me, they know I'm all for it. There's definitely been like a slight tonal shift into Girls and Geese, where it seems a lot more, like you said, it's a little bit more willing to broach on topics that maybe before you hadn't. Was that a conscious decision, or just kind of floated that way?
I just kind of float that way. I think 2020 kind of pushed us all to a point where we had to talk about things because it was in our face.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've always kind of tried. We're unaffiliated, right?
Yeah.
Our organization, that's what we pride ourselves on, is we're not affiliated to one thing or another.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be in academies, whether it be our stances on whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
When George Floyd, the horrible incident happened, I
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of people coming to me and saying, "Hey, what is Girls and Geese official stance?"
Mm-hmm.
And that was the very first time in doing this for 10 years that I was ever asked that question.
Really? We've had some shit happen in the past 10 years. And that was the first. Well, I mean, yeah, the global nature of how much it echoed throughout the world, I could see that, but I'm surprised that nothing no one's contacted you before then.
I like, again, say, like, I think this was front and center, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, during COVID, all of us kind of got knocked off our horses to
Mm-hmm.
where the small things that kind of occupy our worries in life were amplified,
Yeah.
and the big things got even more
Yeah.
amplified. So we didn't have a choice but to pay attention to what was going on. And you know, my roots, I try to keep my personal political views and
Mhm.
where I stand out of Girls and Geese because
I don't do that with the Mighty Ducks. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
because Girls and Geese isn't Shama is the girl in Gee.
Yeah, yeah,
It's all of us are the girl in Gee. And
absolutely.
all of us are very different. All of us
Hmm.
have very different values. All of us have
Absolutely.
very different backgrounds. All of us have very different, values.
Yeah.
And
And it's
so I
meant to
don't
touch you're trying to get the whole encompass of, yeah, so yeah, that makes sense.
Girls and Geese is about breaking down those barriers that
Hmm.
normally would divide us and
Hmm.
getting us to look beyond them to see where we do relate and we can come together.
Gotcha.
So, evolving and kind of pushing the envelope and having these discussions isn't meant to push an agenda of Girls and
Hmm.
Geese, but rather give an opportunity for people to express where they're coming from, to have a deeper understanding of where we can relate and find a common ground. And so that was kind of the push with what we've been doing.
Have you seen
Going back,
backlash?
yes, I've seen backlash on both sides, even though I try to create a platform
Hmm.
versus, a stance
Hmm.
officially, you know. I
But the
mean, on some things we have officially taken stances,
hmm
on things that I think were unavoidable that
yeah.
are align with what the message and the purpose of Girls and Geese.
Hmm.
But again, the idea is to just create that platform for
Yeah.
people to speak off of. Give people who don't have a soapbox to yell off of, give them one.
Well, then I'd also say that, oh, my camera, okay, my camera took me out of focus. Have you, so if you've gotten backlash, have you got some praise for it? Because
Absolutely.
yeah, and it's, has the praise outlasted the backlash? Has it been like a net positive for you?
I try to stay positive. I try to keep
Hmm.
on the positive and I try to understand where that backlash is coming from.
Gotcha.
I think that's important. I think compassion and understanding
Hmm.
are of the utmost importance when you're trying to bring together people from all different walks of life,
Yeah.
and that's the common ground is that
Yeah.
if we can understand where somebody else is coming from, we don't have to agree with it
Hmm.
necessarily, but if we can understand that allows us to walk together a little bit more forward,
Yeah. Well, I was like, I was really happy. I wouldn't say I was surprised, but I was like, oh, Girls and Geese is doing this. Because I've written a couple articles with you as well. But because you are such a bigger organization, again, you're countrywide, probably gonna be worldwide very soon. Damn you, COVID. But like what we've seen, which is why I want to give you your props for even pushing how you have, is that what we've seen, especially in the jiu-jitsu community, there's been a lot of organizations, gyms, individuals who have that platform who remain silent all of 2020, or playing the card of neutrality. But again, like, I'm a believer neutrality is taking a stance when you're not speaking up for those who you don't speak up for the voiceless. So you took a gamble, and
it's scary.
it doesn't seem like, to me it's like, duh, of course, but it's still a gamble when you're thinking about it. You're bringing your business, you're making a stance as Girls and Gi, you're creating that platform as Girls and Gi. That it's going to isolate some people, but like I mentioned, for me, some of my other people, I would say I'm happy you did do it, because I know a lot of people felt comfort in it. My younger sister, she does not like jujitsu. She does not like jujitsu. She's not down with that. And she's watched multiple interviews that you guys have had, multiple, and not just the ones I'm on either. Like, she's watched multiple talks that you've had, because she thought they were just very interesting. And you get such a great collection of voices
Yeah.
to comment.
No, absolutely. And I mean, that again, going back to our original message of bringing us together,
Mm-hmm.
and that we all have a voice. I met with a marketing company about 2 years ago, and they asked me a question. They were like, "What is the voice of Girls and Geese?" And I said, "The voice is everybody's voice. I don't
Yeah.
know what our voice is because it's everybody's voice."
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a hard time, finding what is our voice. And you know what? Our voice is everybody's voice, and it's giving everybody an opportunity to have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
So it is risky. It is
Yeah.
very risky when you're sticking your neck out there because you risk chopping it off.
Hey, if you've been following my Facebook, Shama, you've seen I've taken some. I've been going to town these last couple days. But that's something that I definitely get, especially when you're coming in Girls and Geese, you're expanding how you're expanding. It's an in person thing, and how many people have the scope. I understand how you have to navigate that. When I created the Mighty Dames, it was like, okay, well, it's gonna be, we're talking about like body image and all this stuff, but also I'm coming at it as a Black queer person within this space too. So automatically I'm gonna have some a little bit harsher feelings about things. And I think what I made very abundantly clear last year, and even more now that maybe I didn't make it early on, is that what the Mighty Dames platform was, that we are very much like, we're going to be pro people of color. We're going to be pro the LGBTQ community. And I think sometimes what people see is there's being pro, and then there's like being vocally um, for it. It's like being like, there's being an ally and there's being a vocal ally. And I feel like Girls and Geese has become like, you are an ally, but now you've become a vocal ally. And when you're that vocal ally, it resonates so much harder. So good thumbs up for that. Um,
Well, I mean, it goes back to, the original purpose of Girls and Geese was to make it more inclusive,
mhm,
to make it more inclusive for the minority, which at
mhm,
the time was women.
mhm,
And that's why when I reached out to you about Mighty Dames, it was like, yes, this
mhm,
is a demographic that needs to feel comfortable,
mhm.
you know, and be a part of jiu-jitsu. So when you look at Girls and Geese promoting inclusiveness, that includes everybody that doesn't feel like they're included,
Yeah.
that fall under the same. So it's hard. Like, how can you say that we're inclusive of women, but not of trans women?
Mhm.
Like, where does that fall?
Yeah.
So it was kind of a no-brainer in a lot of ways for me, because how can we promote inclusiveness if we're not including everyone?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, like if we're saying you're saying you're a group for all women, like you're a group for all women. Again, like for us, it's like, yeah, of course. But for other people, they're like, wait a minute now. We didn't read the fine print, what you were really trying to say, who was all included in the included.
Yeah,
But
we
like,
didn't just say we're inclusive of all white straight women. you know
yeah.
so I don't
I
know.
mean, if that's what you read, like, sorry. There's, again, like I always say, like, if that's what you read, there are dozens of spaces that are just like that. There are dozens of people who have open mats and have events that you will find everyone looking like everyone same skin tone as you. But
Yeah.
like we said, if we want to learn from different people, and we want to, like, so, especially something even like jujitsu, if we want to learn the full gravity or all the amazing things about jujitsu, you have to learn it from people who are having to approach the sport at a different angle. Like, if I only trained with super heavies, there are some things that I wouldn't learn about, um, why it's important to be a little bit quicker, why it's important to be a little more flexible. If I only trained with if I only train with men, I'd be missing out on a whole aspect of how women train. If I only trained with, like, I don't know. If I never, this is gonna sound silly, but if I never trained with kids before, if I never like trained with, like, 12 and under kids before, I think I'd lack a certain imagination that they have. That they're like,
I love training with
oh,
kids.
they're
They're so much
fearless.
fun.
They're fearless. They go for things I don't even think about, and there's a joy to it, and there's an actual pain to it too, that like we often overthink. Like we kind of pass as adults. There's that youthful innocence that we miss. So like there's definitely a benefit from like making sure that you're truly, like, if this sport is truly for everyone, you should really try to experience jujitsu with someone who's not so closely tied to where you are, because you might see it completely different.
Yeah.
It might open something. So I have a question for you, that someone, I feel like this is something that gets dinged around every now and then. I'm pretty sure you've been asked this in one iteration or another. if we're in 2021, there are more women in this sport than there's ever been before. We continuously grow. You got girls and geese events here, there. There's other people doing open mats here and there. There's groups coming up here and here. Why do we still need girls and geese? Like, why is it still a thing? Why, like, is it, if we were trying to break down the barriers, like, have we done that enough already?
I don't think so. I mean, we've come really far.
Yeah.
We've come really, really far. And yes, originally the purpose of Girls and Geese was get more people, get more females, get more women and girls, on the mats.
Mm-hmm.
Get them on the mats. Get the numbers. We get the numbers. We'll bring more representation. We'll have more of an opportunity for equality when it comes to pay, when it comes to opportunities. Yeah, we've gotten a whole lot closer than we have been. But, one of the things, and you see these schools that have 15, 20, 30 women on their teams. But I still think it's really, really, really important for you to look beyond your school.
Yeah.
I think it's really important for you to understand that although you do have a really strong connection and solidarity within the women on your team, it's also important to meet other people that are not.
Mm-hmm.
It's also important to build those friendships outside of your schools,
Yeah.
And we've evolved. We've evolved beyond what we've started as. In some way, we've remained true to where we started, but we've also evolved in a lot of different ways, providing scholarships for women and girls all over the world who maybe
breaking a
want
new
to try
barrier
jiu-jitsu and can't. Yeah.
Helping break that financial barrier, because jiu-jitsu is expensive.
Yes, it's become a rich person's game.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started, we were jiu-jitsu bums. We we were, we worked just enough to pay for jiu-jitsu and the basic necessities, and somewhere along the line it became a very privileged sport. Because there was an opportunity for people to make money, which is great. Because nobody was making money for so long. Everybody was just training because they loved it and it was fun, and that's what they wanted to do with their life, was to run an academy, to teach. But as time has gone by and more people have come into it, it has provided more opportunities for men and women alike. So I think the trick to staying relevant is to evolve.
Yeah.
The trick to still continue to give back is to find ways that we can, and find ways to fill the needs that are there. And that's something that I love doing. I get bored when I'm stagnant. COVID has been hard because I've been sitting here on my hands going, can we do an event? What are we going to do? What are some ideas? But it's also been great because it's allowed me to use my creativity, which is something that I love to do, to do interviews, to feature black belts, to provide people with opportunities to have access to black belts that maybe they don't, and ask questions through our Ask a Black Belt segment, to have panel discussions and get people on that really have an interesting perspective that can, bring awareness or get people thinking, through our Next Generation interview series, where we feature up and coming young girls that are the future of jiu-jitsu. So, it's been stagnant, but it's also been a way to really kind of change and evolve and see where do we fit into this changing world of jiu-jitsu.
Well, I always tell people when I talk about girls and geese, like, oh, that's the place who do the open mat. I was like, it's so much more than just an open mat. Again, I think that I won't say COVID's been a blessing in disguise, because God knows, no. But I do think with COVID, with like the forced quarantining, it made people reevaluate everything, really, but also force people to tap into other reserves that they had. If events were going on like normal, you probably wouldn't have time to do a Ask a Black Belt to feature up and coming people, or to, again, have these panel discussions about very important topics and get high quality people to talk on them. So I hope that continues once we get in the please say near future where we can actually do more things. Like that's definitely, I mean, if any of you guys haven't seen any of them, please go to the Girls and Geese page and check them out. They're on YouTube, they're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. You can catch them like that. Podcast. And they all do pretty good, like numbers wise. Like you get good views on those. They're people are like, it shows people are watching, people are interested in it. And especially like now, people want content, like anything. And so you're filling the content, but you're also helping to like give voices to people who might have a lot to say, but they might only have 100 followers.
Yeah. No, and that's the point is, when I took Girls and Geese from its small grassroots beginning and kind of grew it into what it wasn't a platform for me to stand on top of and be like, Shama's great, Shama's wonderful, listen to me, oh, I'm blah blah blah. No, it was an opportunity for me to create a platform for all of us, for all of us to have a voice that maybe gets overshadowed or doesn't have the platform, or maybe is intimidated to have a voice, but it gives them that confidence, and that's what it is. Even our ambassador program, it's a leadership program.
Yeah.
We take women who may have never thought of themselves as leaders and train them how to become them, or take women who have strong leadership abilities already and give them the platform to use to shout off of. And like yourself and Sharika and Charlene, you guys as part of the organization have evolved in refining your abilities as hosts of these different segments and that we have, on our platforms. So,
and you know what else? It's forced you to get into your voice more and come out of your shell, because like at the end of the day, someone's got to host most of these, and that's going to be Shama. So it's kind of, you've been more visible than ever before. Yeah. Like I can scroll down. It's like, oh, that Shama. Oh, she has another video. Let's see what Shama's doing today. But like, it's kind of, it's weird because you can be isolated yet grow your base so much and like be overexposed at the same time.
Yeah. No, I prefer to be the wizard behind the curtain, making everything happen. That's kind of my place. I don't like being, I like being front and center. I have a sense of showmanship. I'm not going to lie. I've had it since I was a kid. But I also I love uplifting other people.
Yeah.
I love watching other people shine. That makes me happy. It makes me so happy beyond words,
Yeah. That's honestly, that's at the core. Like I joke and be like, I'm a very vocal person. And I feel like when you're vocal to my level, it's hard not to connect to Tori O'Neill, Tori the Grappler, and Tori the founder of the Mighty Dames are. They kind of all blend together, even though I definitely, y'all think I'm joking, I am so tamped down on the Mighty Dames compared to everything else. Like, you don't even understand. But I do, like when I did the Mighty Dames, I was very, very tentative about like, I wouldn't, one of the main things we do is like, when you do it, so we reshare pictures of people who are doing different events. I almost never shared myself. Even no matter what, if I was at a tournament, I won a tournament, I got a promotion, I would like never show myself, because I never wanted to be accused of just creating a platform to amplify myself. Until someone called me out on it. They were like, I shared it on my personal page. It's like, hey, why isn't this on the Dames? Like, like you're our leader. You should be on here. I was like, oh, don't call me a leader. But I had to get comfortable with that. But I part of the reason we did this is we wanted to, speak for the big girls and give them the platform that, we can applaud their accomplishments that, sometimes they get overlooked or, almost like it gets pared down because it's instantly, tied to size versus skill. And also just give people, it feels good to have a group share your picture, like I remember, again, I'm thinking back when I was baby Tori, when I was still a white belt, you guys reshared a picture of me. I want to say it was like my first day I bought my gi. Belt's tied is all fucked up. It's like this. Like I have like maybe one stripe. Such a baby face. But I was like sitting in like our very first gym because we've moved a couple times. I'm like on my knees in front of the mirror, just like, and I remember getting it shared, and I like screenshot it and went to my coach like, "Hey, girls and geese shared me. Look at your girl. Look at me." I'm looking like, "Oh, look at that, over 40 likes already." Like, that gave me a little kick, and I've seen other people kind of get that kick too when you like share their picture.
No, I love that. I love it. For me, it's like, okay, I just clicked a few buttons and you're up. But I know that it means so much to so many. And so that's why I'm like, oh, that's what keeps me going, knowing that other people are getting that good feeling by me just sitting on my phone and going click, click, click. Yep. Makes me happy.
And that's like how you said you made that transition from like the competitor to Shama program director. I always said like, I like to compete, not a crazy competitor. I have fun with it, but I would rather be known for the Mighty Dames over any medal that I could get. Like, because at the end of the day, it's cool, but not to say like anyone could be a world champion, like it's so easy, but like in a year, how many world champions are there?
Yeah.
How many groups? True. But at the same time, like how many women's groups do we have like ours that are like actually making an impact? And I think like the first time a parent wrote me about their kid, I like burst out crying because I was so happy about like, oh, my daughter, like we saw you guys, like they saw me competing and they saw my t-shirt and they looked at Mighty Dames and they loved it and they shared it. Like first time I saw that, I was like, man, that makes me so happy because I went through so much with my body image and just not liking who I was at that age, and to have like a 10-year-old say like, oh my God, I love it, or to have like I think, oh God, like a kid, like I had people come up and want to take a picture with me. Like for what? Sure. But like it does make a huge impact. So like and the impact we make on them, you never know how it's going to progress their journey. Like because I tried to quit the Mighty Dames like a couple of times. This is a well-known thing. I wanted to stop working on it. I was over it. They wouldn't let me quit. But like, even during one of those times, you sending me a random message helped fuel me for a couple weeks to push and like really crank out a lot of content. So I made sure people knows. And who knows like what that cranking out of content, who that connected to keep it going. So it's like a pay it forward kind of thing. Exactly. So like,
and it goes on and on and on and on. Now, I was talking with a friend, I come from an old school time where there were no women black belts. Mm-hmm. I think there was like Leticia and Lekka, like there were some, and I was talking this was a couple of years ago. I was talking to my friend about, I was like, I don't want my black belt. I see that as like a huge responsibility. Yeah. I don't want my black belt. It's intimidating. Like, again, it's a huge responsibility because you're representing that belt, and my friend looked at me and she said, Shama, what the hell are you talking about? You have more responsibility than most black belts. And I was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah. Well, I think especially for women, I think this is the thing that men kind of get away with, and to a lesser extent, like now there are becoming more women black belts. I think more women who fall into the normal category, they don't really have to represent anything because there's others to represent. They're not the only one. But I feel like when you're a minority, or you're like, you look a little different, or it's a little, off the beaten path, you feel like you do have a responsibility, because it's like, shit, how many girls from Hawaii are looking up to you? How many like black girls are there, coming up and be looking at me? Not that it's only black girls, there's other people too, but like how many other are looking to me? It's like, crap, do I have to hold myself to a better standard? Shit, I curse too much for that. So like, even as outlandish as I've been, something as simple as like I've tamped down, it doesn't seem like it, but I've tamped down cursing a lot. because I know younger voices are watching me, because I feel like at some point I have a small responsibility, but at the same time, we can't carry all of that weight. Like
No,
the hope
it's a
is on the
lot of
others.
pressure.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure. I've struggled with that a lot over the
Mm-hmm.
years because my voice is not just my voice.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've had to kind of silence myself a lot, which is
Mm-hmm.
really hard because you feel like you kind of lose yourself a little bit when you
Mm-hmm.
can't be yourself. And I've slowly, like you said, I've slowly started coming out of my shell
Mm-hmm.
and
It's a great
establishing
feeling.
my own voice,
Yeah.
and not being afraid of being myself
Mm-hmm.
while representing Girls and
Yeah.
Geese. And it's hard. It's
Mm-hmm.
really hard because you are carrying that weight on your
Yep.
back,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
And it's something I've been aware since the start. Before
Uh-huh.
I started getting into this, I said, "Do I want to do this?"
Mm-hmm. It's a
Yeah.
it's a pick your battles. I need to stop telling people these are only gonna be 35 minutes. They're always an hour, even with editing. Okay, so since this has gone on forever, no, I've had fun. This has been awesome.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys have coming up with Girls and Keys? Because I know you got a full calendar. You keep on cranking stuff out. So, what's coming up?
If I'm not busy, I'm not here anymore. Like, that's kind of how I roll. But so we've kind of we've also migrated over to doing virtual classes for
Mm-hmm.
people who maybe aren't comfortable with training, or some academies are actually hosting these classes at their schools for their women's teams. So
Ooh.
yeah, which is really cool. So, but we have online virtual classes. So we have one coming up on the 13th I'm sorry, 14th with Elizabeth Clay.
Mm-hmm.
She'll be teaching an hour class. And then we also have one with Christina Barlone. That one is on February 27th.
Okay.
So you can go to girlsandgeese.com, sign up for that class. If you're interested in hosting that class at your school with your women's team, we do offer discounts, so you can contact us for that.
Awesome.
And we are kicking back off with some live events because
Hey!
people are training, so we're going to do that as safely as we possibly can and
Yeah.
abide by all the ordinances and precautions that we can in order to make it safe and comfortable for everybody. So we had an event, or we have an event February 28th. That one is sold out in Houston. And so stay tuned. We got
Ace.
more coming your way.
Are those
All of
so?
that is at girlsandgeese.com.
Is that is the first live event? Is that solely live, or will you be doing that online as well?
We're working to set that one up online
Okay.
as well.
Stay tuned.
So we stay tuned for that. We
Okay.
should have some options for those of you that won't
Okay.
be able to be there.
Do you have a good lineup for that one too? Don't you?
Yeah, we have Lauren Murphy. She's a UFC fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And
Damn
then we
good
have,
one too.
yes, and Amanda Lowen. She's out of the Pacific Northwest Oregon, Portland, Oregon area. So
Okay.
she's got a solid gi and no gi game. So we'll be able to get
That's
some really good training from both of them. So
I am so glad, and I know. Again, this is the first one, but I know there's other ones coming, and we're all excited. Let's be honest, people. She's got to stay in the South because we don't give a fuck here, and everything's legal. But I know people are really excited that they're starting to get classes again. So yay, we're super excited. But thank you
yeah.
so much, Shama. This is
No, thank
awesome.
you.
We'll definitely have you back to do maybe a recap of some of your other events that are going. And yeah, this is dope. Thank you.
No, thanks for having me. Thanks for listening, everybody.
I bet people are so happy to know a little bit more about Shama, this mystery woman that only hosts
the elusive Shama Ko.
All right, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Take care.